And we're live. We are live. Neighbour is using a power tool in the shed, so let me know if you can hear me okay. I've got some music on. Just tell me if the voice volume's okay and if that power tool is ruining it. How are we all doing? Just wait for a sound check. Hope you're all well. Who's in the house? We got Sylvia and Tom. Hi, Sean. Joan, hi. Anne, hi. Josh, KK maybe. Ed, hi. Sounds fine at the moment. Thanks, Joan. Thank you very much. Didn't get so many questions this week. Had a few. Thanks to those that sent. Hi, Kelly. Kelly and Ed sent me some questions. Appreciate that. I'll go through those. They won't take so long. So if there's any more questions, type them in. Or one option is to go through some of that video that I did the subtitles of, if you have any questions about that, or anything you wanted me to clarify, or any feedback, how the translation could have been clearer or better, or anything like that. Nice little social chat. I like it very much. Building a community. Okay, I'm going to start. Oh, it's a shame, Sean. You have to watch them all catch up. This week's questions are from Ed and from Kelly. I'm going to talk Ed's question first. I'm just going to turn this down. I think the music's possibly a little loud. Okay. Ed's is a good question. Could you talk about doing Tai Chi at full speed, maybe using equipment like pads or bags? Is this something that's done in the same way that you drill gar strikes during the nugget, for example, or not really? If so, do you have any suggestions for putting together that kind of practice session? So I think part of the problem with this is kind of terminology, and people tend to be a little bit fixed to certain ideas. So like, for example, Tai Chi is famous because of the slow form. Okay, that's in Chinese they're called Bat Dim. That's like its special point, its characteristic is the slow form. It's famous because the slow form can release stress, has many health benefits, physiological, mental, so on, meditation, many benefits. Okay, but also Tai Chi is a martial art. But, okay, this is the but. You can't learn martial art just doing slow forms. Slow forms can teach you certain things about the integration of the body, how to get coordinated, how to find your center of balance, how to start finding vectors of force. And so it can be very useful. Some people that, for example, start with something more, I don't know if I should use the word external, but something more apparent, like, say, boxing. If somebody's fairly naturally coordinated and connected, great. Some people just aren't, and sometimes you have to go back and say, right, let's start from the stance. Let's see how everything connects. Let's see where your balance is. You have to go right back if someone's not natural. So sometimes they say in boxing, punches are born, not made. I really think that arts like Tai Chi can actually give you an insight into how to make something, how to build it from the ground up. So tremendously beneficial. Having said that, right, here's the flip side. Fighting is fighting. If you want to be good at fighting, guess what you have to practice? Fighting. If you want to be able to throw punches and kicks fast, guess what you have to practice? Throwing punches and kicks fast. Now, there's some truth to the saying that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. In other words, you slow it down, find where you're tensing, release the tension, and then later you can speed up. That's true to a degree, but the main part of your practice should be according to what you're trying to develop from that practice. And so if your main interest is fighting, the interesting question is why maybe do something like Tai Chi if your main goal is fighting. Is there a particular reason why you chose Tai Chi as opposed to Hap Ga as a question? If it's because you have an injury or there's some reason why the fast movements is like not so good for your body, that's fair enough. If though it's mainly you're mainly interested in, say, I don't know, for example, I'm giving it, this isn't you, but this is some example. You're interested in, say, entering mixed martial art competitions or something like that, then Tai Chi is way, way, way down the list of priorities. So can you do Tai Chi movements fast? My answer is why not? So let's look at a movement, Tai Chi movement. So you're learning the 24 forms. So the first movement is part horse's mane, right? That's not a strike, that's a wrestling move. That's going under someone's arm and throwing them. Can you practice that at speed? Get your partner to try and push you, try and get the arm. Even better, do some wrestling and then try to find where you can fit that movement in. You can't just do the form and then have no context for it, right? So you have to have a context in which you can make it fit. Tai Chi people usually start with push hands as a context, which is a fairly kind of low stress, low danger, kind of gentle dipping your toe into the combative water, so to speak. But wrestling is a more kind of realistic. So you could say, practice it at that. So what's the next? Hi, KK. What's the next movement from? We have white crane spreads wings, which is opening and then a kick, a spring kick. Can you practice a spring kick on the bag? Hell yeah. You should be practicing it on the bag if you want to use it for fighting. On the pads, getting someone moving around, feeding you. Just the same as you would do for kickboxing, anything else, right? Brush knee push is the next movement. What's that? Parrying a kick, coming in with a rear punch or a rear palm. Can't you get someone moving around, they're trying to kick you, you're trying to parry it, looking for your chance to return your shot, brush knee push. And so on, repulse monkey, they're trying to take you down, you're pushing them away, making space, for example. Grass bird's tail, it's all clinch skills, arm drags, compressions, rolls, shifts, turns. So the answer is to your question. It's a good question. It's not. I can't give you a simple answer. If you have the context in which to practice, it's very beneficial. If you're practicing it out of a martial context, it won't magically give you martial art skills. So if I was running a class where people were interested in self-defense, I would create an environment, a contextual exchange where people can experiment with these movements and have it not too intense, because if it's too intense, you panic and it all falls apart. So you need to do it at a level where you can start to make sense of it and then gradually turn up the juice until you're doing it at the kind of intensity where then you can take it to a wrestling or an MMA class or a boxing class and you'll be okay. So having said that, I'm not typical in my ideas about that, because a lot of Tai Chi people say things like, oh no, it's different. It's not the same. Our style is too dangerous for sparring and we can't hit pads because you'd kill somebody or something, and that's nonsense. So fighting's fighting, right? The cool thing about Tai Chi as opposed to MMA is we can practice solo, we can practice meditatively. And I guess you can do that in MMA. There's no reason why you can't. It's just not really part of the culture of it. In the same way, if I start hitting bags and punching, it's not really part of the culture of Tai Chi. But why not? Free your mind. Train your body, free your mind, right? So that's my question. That's my answer to that question. So putting together that kind of practice session. If you have a partner, put some gloves on and take it like any other kind of combative art. Problem solving. Don't go too hard. Watch the head contact. Take it easy. Learn not to flinch. Learn how to stick, connect, so on. If you're solo, practice all the movements on the bag. You've got the rear right hand, which is your brush knee push. You've got the lead groin kick, which is white crane spread swings. You've got your repulse monkey. What other strike? Fan lan choi. You can practice that movement. Repetition, ingraining the power generation, using the waist, so on. So, yeah, there's loads of stuff you can practice in the Tai Chi form if you want to go that way. Absolutely. If I start doing that in classes, you watch the class disappear from 20 people down to 3 people. Even in the Hup Guard class, as soon as we do contact sparring, everyone disappears. Why? Because when you do the form, you think, I've got the movement. You try it on opponents fighting back, you haven't got the movement. Doesn't work. So you get discouraged. You lose face. This ego is like, didn't like that. Oh, I thought I was better. Yeah, I'm against a bag. I'm not punching you back. It takes a long time to develop timing, distance, reflexes, strategy, and so on. And not many people want to go through that. That's why not many people get to really the fighting levels. Not because there's some secret stuff. That's just smokescreen. The real stuff's very simple, but takes a lot of work. Okay, Josh, I was going fast, then tried to get the 8-beat count on I viewed this week with the music. I was behind you. Cover this more tomorrow. When I mix over, I'd try to see you. Yeah, sure, you can have me for a private lesson. That's fine, Sean. I would suggest with the Tai Chi at this stage in the 24, don't worry about speed yet. Slow it down. Get the 8 count. Make it smooth. Oh man, that's the fun stuff. You think so, wouldn't you, Fu Jiao? I always felt. To me, but it's very few people think like you do in that one, Josh. Very few people. Boxing's cool because you're punching each other. Kickboxing's better because you've got 4 limbs. Muay Thai is even better. You've got knees and elbows. You've got clinch. Wow, MMA, now you've got takedowns. You've got grappling. Sunshao is cool, but it's got no chin na on it. MMA's got chin na on it. Okay, let's pull some weapons out. Let's have some knife defense. How about sticks? And the more stuff you add in, the more chaotic and the more you have to pull from all the different systems and techniques, the more fun it is, right? But for some reason, I used to get this all the time. They'd be doing MMA with me for a while and they'd say, I think I'm going to switch to boxing. It's more simple. Like, really? If you're training for self-defense, here's the thing. If you're training for sport or for a hobby, do what you like. I like boxing. I like kickboxing. I like jiu-jitsu. I don't want to get punched, so I like jiu-jitsu. I don't like grappling, so I want to do kickboxing. That's cool. No problem. Excellent. If you're training for self-defense, you don't get to pick what sport. You don't get to pick. The guy might tackle you. The guy might punch you. The guy might pull a knife on you. You don't get to pick. So if you're interested in self-defense, don't limit yourself. Oh, I do Tai Chi, therefore I won't put on gloves. Really? Oh, I'm Hup Gar, therefore I won't use any close technique in the clinch. Really? Why limit yourself? Yeah, so open up, open your mind. Classical training is excellent. Discipline, training, tradition, brilliant. But fighting is, you need to be free. Most people don't want to get hurt for fun. Yeah, that's right, Kelly. That's right. I think it's the perception. See, what happens is this. So I can play and spar and grapple and I don't get hurt. My partners don't get hurt. I've got some videos on it if you go on my website and you go, why isn't everyone sparring? I've put some clips of sparring and people are laughing. Oh, good one, touch gloves. That was good. Oh, you got me. Good one. There's no malice. There's no intent to injure. You crank on a chin, the other person tap. That means, yep. And the other person lets go. If it was a fight, yeah, but it's not. It's sparring. So the aim of sparring is to improve your skill, not to win. Sometimes that means deliberately playing in your weak areas to kind of fill in the gaps in your knowledge. So it's very, very different mentality to fighting. Sparring is sparring, fighting is fighting. You do not have to get hurt. You shouldn't be getting hurt when you're sparring. The reason people get hurt is because one of the people sparring gets like a competition. Right, you got me, I'll get you back. And then they take it up. And then the other person goes, oh, yeah, right. And it ramps. And so that's 2 people whose egos aren't in check. Partly it's the job of the coach to go, well, guys, stop. Especially with the kids' classes, whoa, jumping in, But a good coach will stop that happening. So compared to, say, football, rugby, I don't think it's so dangerous. My son got more injuries doing rugby and football than he did doing MMA training. Yeah. So it depends on the coach and your sparring partners. Only spar with people you trust. I see through sometimes someone would come in who didn't know and they'd say, I want to spar with you. He'd always have the same answer. It was very clever. He would say, no, I don't spar with people I don't know, but I'll fight you. No rules, no problem. Now, you're challenging me, I'll fight you, but I'm not sparring with you. So he was very smart. Different to me. I never said that to him. Sparring is so much fun. It's a blast even if I'm losing. I don't think you lose in sparring, Josh. You win or you learn. Good morning, Barnaby. You win or you learn. Rugby's hard. I played for years. Yeah, rugby's awesome. Also builds good aggression and kind of forward energy, and you need that for fighting, because if you're like timid or something, or you flinch, you can't be like that if you're fighting. Even if you're doing Tai Chi, you can have beautiful, relaxed movement. But if you tense up and someone punches you, then it's gone. So you have to be able to maintain your composure under pressure. And so something like rugby is good for that. But the best thing for fighting is fighting. That's what I'm trying to get around to. The best thing is actually to do this stuff. You want to be good at it? Practice it. It doesn't have to be called Tai Chi. It doesn't have to be called boxing. It doesn't have to be called wrestling. You just have to practice the techniques in a context. So it doesn't matter what you call it. If it's got the context, it's good. If it doesn't, it won't work. That's the active ingredient, the magical thing. I'm gutted that the pandemic has put an end to me starting to learn to fight. I know how you feel. But, you know, Sean says it's all learning is right. I know how you feel. But, you know, it's fighting on another level, right? Our immune system, when you give it the jab, when you've had your vaccine, you're training your immune system how to fight intelligently, right? That's sparring it's training the immune system. So when a stimulus comes, the body says, I've been here before, I know what to do, and it responds appropriately. So there's a saying that the MMA guys use, which I really like, which is called fight IQ. They say someone has a very high fight IQ. I really like that expression. They can pull on lots of things and make very quick, correct decisions. You see people who, to be blunt, when you hear them talking, they don't sound very smart. When you watch them moving, they're a genius. It's a different kind of intelligence. Beautiful thing. Okay. That's Ed's question. Kelly's question. In the film Hero, Jet Li's character, Nameless, yeah, it's an awesome movie, says he's trained hard for 10 years and become a master swordsman. Is this possible? And then a personal question, what weapon are you, i.e. me, most proficient with? Which one do you like using most? And if you had practiced every day, how long would it have taken you? I never really have good straight answers for these. They're great questions. And I always want to say that depends, or what do you mean by it? It's like same as the last question. It's like you can train it. Okay, so my question is, what does it mean, master? What does it mean to master? It's such a powerful word, isn't it? Everyone wants to be a master. Jedi master, Reiki master, Kung Fu master. It's like it's some sort of quasi-mystical kind of thing. What does it actually mean? Because in Chinese, they don't use that term. They don't use that term. So I'm not sure what he said, where the translation said mastered it. Mastering a skill, so something like a master carpenter. How long does it take to become a master carpenter? Can you become a master carpenter in 10 years if you apprentice under a good teacher? Yeah, definitely. So if master means technical proficiency to a high level, then 10 years is feasible for anything. Maybe a good thing to do is look at Olympians when they get to the absolute pinnacle. Most of them have been training around the 10-year mark. So if they start when they're 10, by the time they're 20, maybe, or 15 to 25 is for obviously athletic stuff. It's a younger age group. Tai Chi's older, but for athletic stuff, it's that kind of time, isn't it? So what about Olympic fencing? We're talking about a master swordsman. How long is the average Olympic fencer trained? And my question is this. Basically, if you could kill people that were good. Okay, I'll come back to that because that's a cool thing. What would happen if you took someone who had trained the sword form like really beautifully, perfectly, elegantly, every day for 20 years, and you put them in a fencing match against someone that had done 18 months of competitive fencing with a good coach? Honest, put what you think. 20 years versus 18 months. Who do you think would win? 20 years purely form practice, but perfect form, against 18 months where several times a week you're competitively sparring and fighting. Just waiting for your answers. Yeah. Book of Five Rings, yeah, Miyamoto Musashi. It's a book of strategy. Yeah, you're all correct. Be unbeatable. That's the movies. Yeah, fencer wins. Right, 18 months. Everyone's got it. So none of you guys are deluded Kool-Aid Kung Fu drinkers, right? Am I back? Said I've frozen. Am I back now? Can you guys hear me? I'll wait to unfreeze. Please let me know if I'm unfrozen. Okay, great, thank you. So you all got the right answer. 18 months for sure. So, but if you're talking about mastering a form, I mean, to look at some of these, go on YouTube and put Taiji Jian. That's the Taiji sword form competition for the Wushu. So type this to YouTube. If you've got a pen, write this down. So Taiji Jian, Taijijin. Taijijin, one word. And then put something like gold medal, and you will see of a sword routine. Is that what you mean by a master? Because those guys wouldn't last a second in a fencing match against a fighter. Now, if you look at somebody like, there's a group called the Dog Brothers, and they do full contact weapon fighting. And they really get in there and they go hard. Those guys are slightly crazy, because I have a good friend who's a member, one of the original members, and I've done stick fighting with him. But I have done it with padded protective equipment. He's done it with no protective equipment, like full contact. It's crazy. But that kind of experience, that's fighting, right? That's how you get the confidence. You've done it for real, okay? And people look at that Dog Brothers fighting and say, that's not martial arts. That's just brutal. That's just nasty. You know, look at Taiji sword. They say, oh, that's much better, right? What you're looking at. See, if you really understand fighting, you'll see it. The timing, the